What's up, everybody? Fall of Shadows here. I am just going to jump straight into this video because I've been wanting to try to record it for a while and it's just never worked out. So we're going to jump straight into it. We're going to keep it really short. What I want to do is provide a slightly in-depth, but not really, there's nothing super in-depth to get about review of the FPV Depot Sport frame. So here it is. This is such a fun little frame. I can't even begin to explain it. It's one of those things that when I finally got it set up the way that I wanted it set up, it flies so well. And I think there's something awesome with FPV, like when your gear is actually flying exactly the way that you want it to, it makes flying that much more fun. So this frame has pretty much done that for me, and I recommend that you check it out. Like, I'll tell you straight off the bat, like, you should check out this frame. It's a lot of fun. Building it is really simple, but yeah. Basically, the really cool thing about this frame is the arms. The arms come with a whole bunch of holes drilled in them, so you can run each arm in one of three possible configurations. You can have a standard 5-inch setup, you can have a stretch 5-inch setup, or you can have a 6-inch setup. And as you can see, I'm running the 6-inch setup. There is plenty of space here because I'm running 5-inch props. Plenty of space between prop and standoff there. I'm running 5-inch props on 6-inch arms. And basically the effect that that gives me is just like when you're running a stretch X setup, you have a lot more authority on the pitch axis. This gives me authority all around. It's like stance. I don't know, whatever the kids call it these days. Basically, it is really locked in the air. It is really stable, really nice, really wonderful to fly. It's just a joy to actually have up in the air, and it doesn't weigh a ton either. Basically, the way that each arm works is that you have two holes. You have one that will go through to the lock nut, and the other that would typically go to some standoffs, but I am running these 3D printed soft mounts that FPV Depot sells, and they are really good. There's always the question of, do you want to run standoffs or do you want to run a structural bolt, such as one coming through the arm through the flight controller? And that's what this frame does. I can say that when I first set it up, I had it just hard mounted, straight up, no soft mounting at all, not even an O-ring on the standoffs, and I mean straight up nylon standoffs through the flight controller, and down at the very bottom of the throttle, like as soon as you would go to pick up in a hover, it would pick up and kind of go like meh, and then it would fly just fine. As soon as I put these on, the whole flight process got cleaned up, and these are like the softest soft mounts I've ever run. I normally just run like O-rings on top of nylon standoffs or something like that. So this soft mount combined with this frame is the best flying quad I've ever owned. I absolutely love it. The thing is durable as all get out. I have beat it all around so far. It's fail-safed because of some issues that I have with my flight controller. I've fail-safed the thing and just dropped it, 50 feet out of the air, and it hits the ground. And I think somewhere, oh, there we go. There is a crack right there. That's the most damage that I've managed to do. And that was the 50-foot drop onto, it kind of came down backwards like that onto the ground. So it was at least 50 feet. Might have been a little bit more. But either way, I mean, that's all the more damage I've managed to do to the thing. It's super good, super solid. I haven't managed to crack the arms or anything like that, not as far as I've noticed. Haven't noticed any performance issues with flying. Is that? Nope, just scuffed. So there's that. The camera, the FPV camera, is nice and protected. I really prefer this style where just the FPV camera is tucked back in there a little bit. I don't like these like pod quads like the X-Hover R5X. That's a great little frame, but the camera sticks out so far that if you hit something, you're just going to shatter the lens, and that really ruins the day. So it's pretty well protected. I've run headfirst into things and have not managed to damage the lens at all. And just, I guess, that is a Runcam Swift 2. I put a GoPro lens on it because the stock lens is terrible. I want to talk a little bit about these 3D printed things right here. If you haven't noticed, my GoPro mount and my back plate here are 3D printed, and that is because this frame is really compact. For a freestyle frame where it's not like a pod quad, it's more freestyle oriented, it's really tight. And if it weren't for this 3D printed mount, you would have a lot of trouble getting both the battery and a GoPro up there. The battery would hang off the end a little bit, which I did run it like that, and it flew just fine, but it just looks junky. So that it's cool though, because the frame is as small as it is. If for whatever reason you decided that you were going to run this thing bottom mount, you just take your battery, throw it on the bottom, and you have plenty of space down there to run a strap through, and you could run it as a bottom mounted rig and it would fit just fine. So it's really versatile. Like I said, you have the switchable arms, you have top mount, bottom mount. You can do whatever you want with this frame. That makes it really fun. Not to mention, this is the first thing I've ever gotten to try 6-inch props on. It's difficult to tune 6-inch props, I'll say that straight out, but I think that's a 6-inch prop thing and not a frame thing. So these 3D printed parts, got to give a shout out to Scott Starlepper. He's the one that designed them, and actually he's the one that printed these particular ones. But as far as I know, and don't hold me to this because I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but as far as I know, FPV Depot will be stocking these parts here. And so you'll be able to run this frame just like I am with these 3D printed parts, and everything will be better. Because you'll have plenty of space up top for the GoPro and for the battery. And there's also a fully enclosed GoPro mount that I know Scott has designed. I don't know if FPV Depot is going to be carrying that at all. But this mount right here is really nice. With standard TPU, it's pretty flexy. This is some kind of magical TPU that it's like one step above regular TPU where it's more stiff. And then the back plate here is pretty self-explanatory. It gives you space to run the XT60 connector. You run your FPV antenna out the back, and then your receiver antennas go out the sides there. And I basically just took my receiver. I had my receiver underneath my flight controller before to really clean up the build. And then I had issues with fail-safes, and my receiver died, and so I decided to replace it, and I got lazy and stuck it in the corner here, and there it remains. I covered it in electric tape so I couldn't short out on anything, and so literally my receiver's just tucked in a corner. The XT60 runs right past it. Antennas go out the back with some 1/8-inch tubing that the 3D printed backplate is specifically designed to fit with, and it works great. I haven't damaged an antenna. I've beaten this thing all around. Both prints are just fine. So this setup right here, I mean, really the whole setup, the motors, the ESCs, everything that I have on it, I absolutely love it. I have no interest in changing anything. This flies exactly how I want it to fly. It does exactly what I want it to do. It's such a smooth flying quad. So I would recommend checking it out. And the final point that I have to point out, unless they go and change around the pricing, which I don't think they're going to, this frame is $65. So you get a frame that you can put in standard X, stretch X, or super X 6-inch arms setup. You can run top or bottom mount battery. There's all these 3D printed goodies that'll be coming out for it at some point as soon as they sort of finalize the design. And then those, I mean, the soft mount there is really, really cool too. They're already selling those though. $65 for this frame. I have flown more expensive frames that I like less than this one. And I've flown cheaper frames that haven't flown so well. So for me, $65 is a really, really, really good price for a frame like this. Let me take the battery off of here. It's really a simple frame. Like, there's no real bells or whistles. There's nothing super fancy. I just stuck some Velcro down that helps me hold on my batteries, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing super fancy with this frame, which is what makes it nice. It's easy to work on, it's durable, and it's affordable. And for me, that's what's really important with FPV, because if you've been flying for any amount of time, you know the price adds up. So check out this frame, fpv-depot.com. I'll leave a link. Actually, just check out my video description, because that's where I have my parts list, and it is listed on there with a link directly to them. Yeah, so go and get it linked out there and check it out and buy a frame or something and tell them I sent you.